talking like this, they're going to turn it up headphones as they're out on their nature walks. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Capes and Tights, a comic book and pop culture podcast. Here's your hosts, Justin Soderberg and Adam more or less get me out. Where's my money?
We're here at Bangor Comic and Toy Con, and we're about to talk to Dana Snyder, voices of Master
Shake from Aqua Teen Hunger Force. He's been on Squidbillies.
He has had a new movie on Star Wars, Lego Star Wars on Disney Plus that just came out.
He was on Venture Brothers. I believe he was the alchemist.
Yep, and a bunch of other things. So we're here and talking to him, and we'll talk to him in 1 second. And yeah, I'm excited. So you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook at Capes and Tights Podcast, and on Twitter, Capes Tights Pod. Apple, Spotify, all your podcasting networks and all that stuff. So check that stuff out for us. And this is our episode with Dana Snyder, voice actor extraordinaire. It's fun. Great. So enjoy. Adam and I talked off of recording about how it probably is easier for somebody to have a role like when you were on Aqua Teen Hunger Force, to just play that same character over and over and over again, because you know what you sounded like, you know what your voices were every week as you went into recording more. Unlike you're doing a single episode, you're trying to mimic. I mean, you were trying to mimic, really, recording the other night. You were trying to mimic what someone else had done for that character,
but
right?
Not even really, because I didn't even know what they were doing.
Okay.
Well,
right.
What I was doing for that thing was more like ADR, because it was already fully animated.
Okay.
So I was listening to a recording that was not even, it was a scratch, what they call a scratch track. So it was just some guy, probably an editor or an animator or whatever, that we need these lines so that they could animate it and know what to animate it to. But I had to do it exactly the timing that what I was listening to, because the animation's already there, which is like very hard to do. For me. And then one time they'd be like, yeah, but can you make it sound like you're more surprised? I'm like, yes, but I don't know if I can at the same time.
Timing, exactly.
Like, it's exactly the timing. And sometimes, like, the scratch, the guy will be like, oh, no, my pants are on fire. And you're like, you got to do like, oh, no, but you can't, because you have to match their timing. And it's like, really, guys? You really want to?
How often does that happen where they have the animation done before you actually do the thing, the voice?
Typically, that's not the way you do it.
Okay.
You always, all the time, you record your dialogue first. But there usually will be a part in the process of making an episode that is, you almost always will have an ADR session. Either because there's something they needed another line to clarify. Sure. And to do it to picture is usually like the very last little bit. Like, I can't remember. I think I was talking to John. Seasons Bar and Grill. Come by. Stay for the fried pepper wings. We did it. I had to do, we have to have you record something now in the next 1 hour, because we are sending it away to the network where they just do their thing and then it goes on TV for an episode of Squidbillies. And they needed like one sound. They needed like Granny to go like, oh boy. And that was it. I said, I can't, I'm not.
Yes.
I was in some town. I didn't have a car, and I was at Target. God knows what.
In the dressing room with your phone.
I literally went into the dressing room, pulled out my iPhone, and went, oh boy. I do not know what the lady running the changing room thought I was doing in there. I didn't even go in with clothes. It was just like, I need a dressing room.
I would not to get PG here at all, but it's probably not the worst thing that's happened in every dressing room.
No.
God, no.
Oh gosh, no.
God, no.
That's probably the best thing that's ever
dressing
happened.
room has seen things no dressing room.
And no one said "oh boy" as well as you did. Like
Professionally said. No one said "oh boy" professionally. You got paid to say it in there.
We just thought that experience was so just great last night.
It was.
Is it now that it's so much easier to like dial, to be immediately available to do voice? Is it more like intrusive now on your life where they know they can?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think what's the great thing about COVID is that it has made all this stuff like, I mean, I do everything, not only do everything from home, but it doesn't matter where I am, I can do it.
That's amazing.
Like we spent, I think 6 months in my wife's parents have a vacation house in Martha's Vineyard. I mean, we were just living on Martha's Vineyard for 6 months. I mean, like they're not like squillionaires. I'm not talking about, Obama's place or whatever. But I mean, it's still like it's just so nice there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Living in a toilet on Martha's Vineyard is like
nice.
Primo.
That's what we lived in.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. But it was like so great because my wife is a teacher. She was online. My daughter's in school, but hers also Zoom. And then I'm in the back. Like we're all in 3 different rooms screaming like idiots.
That's awesome.
But it was so great. But there was one thing I had to record in person that they were like, no, we want to do it in the studio. And it was the new Aqua Teen movie. And I don't know why they cared.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've talked to engineers and they're like, yeah, he goes, we notice a little difference. But I'm telling you, I'm talking like it's 5% different.
Yeah.
It's maybe 5% better in the studio. I'm sure if we're doing a Pixar movie, you're going to want to do it here. But then that's not it. I know those Disney movies, that Raya movie.
Yes.
Yep.
That whole thing was done in people's houses. I mean, at the start of COVID, for this Molly McGee show, Disney just sent me a box of equipment on day one.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, here's a mic, here's the interface. I mean, I had a computer.
Yes.
But they said, a mic stand and headphone, everything you'd need. And they probably did that for God knows how many other shows.
Oh, yeah.
And I think the hardest part is some people are not tech savvy.
Mm.
I'm pretty good at it. But I know there's some people they don't know what the hell's going. I know somebody on Squidbillies, they bought them an iPad so they could record them through that, and they didn't know how to.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
At all.
Yeah.
They were like, "What's this now? What do I do here?
How do you do this thing right here?"
Yeah.
I mean, it has become easier. We talked a little bit last night in the car too about how jobs have become obsolete in a sense. But I love how you said the engineer was the one at 5%. The only person in the world probably that noticed the volume or the quality was different was the engineer. And just because they wanted to be able to be still needed, the studio still needed to be needed.
Well, the beauty is, I mean, the thing is, for these engineers, the studios are back. But I mean, I would say now people are starting to come into the studios, the engineers.
Yes.
However, 3 months ago, the engineers were in their house.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So they're in their house. I usually record one of two ways. Let's say 3 ways. Well, no. Either one is the renegade bottom level.
Yeah.
Where the creators call me. We're probably on Zoom. I hit record on my GarageBand or Audacity. Record it there. They're just directing me through Zoom. And then at the end, I send them the audio. Then there's higher level, which is, and these are not really about higher level, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm on the Patrick Star
Mm-hmm.
show. So how those guys do, I go on one of these programs Source Connect or something where they can feed me through, but I record the backup on my computer, but I get on Zoom, I immediately hit screen share, and Manny, the engineer, just takes over my computer. He sets the shit up, he puts the thing, and he's recording it through whatever Source Connect or something on his spot, but also backup on mine, and then I have to send the backup, that's it. And then the third one is I am just an engineer is doing take for take, but on my computer, so it's saving on my Pro Tools. And I don't even know how to use Pro Tools.
You just have it.
Right. Like the weird thing is like, so every day I'm getting like, I have a record almost every day, but someone else is using my computer, and I gotta open it to record something again for like one of the record yourself.
Yes.
And like I feel like I have dementia because every day I look at like I don't know where the settings are. Like, everything's like 10%, and every record is like 10% different. Like we don't use Zoom, we use TeamViewer.
Yes.
And we don't use Pro Tools, we use Audacity. We don't do. It's like it's all almost the same, but just different enough to kind of drive you crazy.
You got to make sure those tabs are closed on your computer, though, right?
Yes. Well, and this is why I didn't realize. I said, "Why do you always open up this thing like this?" One of the engineers, and he's like, "This is the privacy."
Yes.
I said, "What does that mean?" And he goes, "Well, I've had a couple times. I've gone in, and I start to type in whatever the thing, and all of a sudden." On someone's computer. He didn't tell me who, but like all of a sudden, like, Kate Winslet feet pictures or just something. And that was probably the best thing that comes up.
No, exactly. I mean, I used to do computer repair at Best Buy, and there was times where customers would walk in with their computer and the screensaver would come on, and it was them with no clothes on. And I had to like disable the screensaver, and I got yelled at by my boss because of the fact that we're not supposed to change the settings on the computer. But I'm like, I'm also like, isn't this borderline HR problem here? Some sort of, and I'm like, the person that dropped it off doesn't realize what they're doing. I mean, they do, but like they don't know that I know it. When we go to pick it up, I'm like, exactly.
Best Buy.
Yeah.
Drop my computer off.
I'll tell you right now, Dana.
I think
it was not worth seeing. I tell you that much.
That reminds me of a joke. I'll tell you, but it's dirty. I don't know.
Yeah, you can do it. It's fine.
Yeah. Okay. So this guy's like in love with his doctor, and he's like, "Oh gosh, I can't wait to see him." He goes to the doctor one day. Goes, "Oh doc, my butt hurts so bad. You got to look at it." And the doctor goes, "All right, well, let me inspect your anal cavity. You'll see what the problem is." He goes, "Okay, doc, please hurry. And he goes, whoa, doc. He goes, "Well, what's the problem? He goes, you realize you have a dozen red roses shoved up your ass?" He goes, read the card. That's it. That's not really dirty.
No.
Oh,
no, that's it. We're going to be taking off Apple now because we said ass,
You have a lot worse.
So at all of your
But it reminded me of the guy bringing the computer.
Yes, exactly.
Absolutely.
It's significant other.
Here's my question. No matter how beautiful your body is, why do you want on your own screensaver pictures of yourself?
It was the woman who dropped it off, actually. And again, it didn't come on the you sign it in, you check it out.
I wasn't even thinking a lady. I was just thinking some like old creepy perv dude on a chaise lounge laying on a bearskin rug with his giblets hanging
exactly. Out. And from that day on, I ended up going to do in-house installations, and I was afraid I was going to answer from that experience, I was afraid I was going to open the door and some woman was going to be standing there in lingerie and not knowing how to handle that.
Years ago, my mom was a big Richard Gere fan, and I went to her office, and she didn't know computers, so I put a Richard Gere wallpaper up just to be funny, him in a bathtub. Just months this thing is there. Yeah. And one day I go in and I look, and his penis is totally sticking out of the water. and months at an insurance company, like she had this on her computer because I was like, "Look, Mom, I put a picture of Richard Gere on your wallpaper." Not
knowing that it was nude Richard Gere.
No, that's the Seinfeld episode where Elaine's nipple was showing on the Christmas card that she didn't know the nipple was showing. But I mean, so you're a voice actor, but you didn't? Did you go into your career wanting to be a voice actor? I mean, is this?
I did theater.
Yeah. Okay.
I did theater, and then I went to college with the girl who went to high school with Dave Willis, who co-created Aqua Teen Hunger Force. And we were already living in New York. My friend Ashley was living there, and I was also living there. And he called her up and said, "Do you know anybody who has a crazy voice? We're doing this show, and they're kind of like superheroes, but they're not really superheroes." And she goes, "Well, I don't understand, like what?" She goes, "Well, we've auditioned everybody in Atlanta." They were in Atlanta. He goes, "But they're all like radio guys, so they're not funny."
Yeah.
because they're like used to doing commercials and stuff. He goes, "There's one guy we like. The guy we're probably gonna get if we can't find somebody else is he's doing like a Christopher Walken. That's the guy who was in the running. He was doing kind of like a Christopher Walken, but everybody else would come in and sound like a superhero, like, okay, citizens, I'm the leader." Like George Lowe, like
yes.
George Lowe for Space Ghost.
Yes.
They were all doing that. And then she said, "What's he supposed to sound like?" And Dave, she said, "I remember it like nothing." He said, his mouth, he should sound like his mouth writes checks his body can't cash. And the second he said that, I said, "Call my friend Dana." That's exactly it. Call him. And then he called me, and my friend Dave had come to town, and he was staying with a different Dave, Dave Roberts, my old friend from college.
The baseball player? No.
No. Yes, the famous. No. And he said, "What are we doing?" I said, "I got this audition," but he didn't send me the stuff yet. Dave came to town. We went out to my favorite bar. We went and had steak dinners. We went, the circus was in town that night, or they were going to be in town the next day, Ringling Brothers. And what always happened in New York, I lived on 35th Street. So I could look out my window and see 34th Street. But the trains have to park in Queens for the circus. But what that means is at like 1 o'clock in the morning or midnight, they would walk the animals through the Midtown Tunnel and down 34th Street to, or not the Midtown, the Midtown Tunnel, down 34th Street to Madison Square Garden. So like, we just about go to bed, and I look out the window. Dave's sleeping on the couch bed. I come in from the bedroom. I'm like, "Dave, look out the window right now." He's like, "What?" I said, "Look out the window." And just like that classic shit of like the trunk is holding the tail of the next elephant, but they're just walking down 34th Street. And, you know, before they did away with all the animals, like they did that every year. And that was the first time I saw it. After that, like every bar on 34th Street has a party, and then they all go out and wave on the elephant. But they bring all of them. They bring the zebras, everything. They're just walking down 34th Street. It's the strangest thing you've ever seen in your life. I'm sure there's lots of footage on, and then there were also always protesters also going on.
Which makes sense,
But like, and then I was like, "Oh shit, I'm supposed to record this audition thing." It's like at 1:30 in the morning. I'm like, all right, you know, probably I don't want to shock anyone. I may have had a drink or two through the course of this evening. I was like, all right, I just got to do it. And I remember it's like, I am the leader, blah, 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 whatever it was. And then like the next day, Dave Willis called me. He goes, "Excellent, perfect, exactly what we were looking for, exactly what we didn't know we wanted. We just found in you. One problem." Because I just left it on his voicemail answering machine at work. This was really kind of we had cell phones, but it wasn't like where you could
99 or 2000, right? I mean,
And he said, "I accidentally erased it before we played it for the boss. Can you do it again?" I said, "Sure, I can do it again." And it's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So I do it again. He calls back and he goes, "I don't know, but something was just a little different." He goes, "I hate to ask you to do it again, but that other one was just exactly what we were looking for. And this one is, I can tell it's there, but it's just not what the other one was." I was like, "I think I know what you're talking about, but I have one question. Would you mind if I just did it a little later, maybe like after work hours?" He's like, "No, that's fine, no problem." And then like Dave, my friend Dave, was out doing whatever he was doing, business. And then he like came back because he was staying at my place, and I like just sort of grabbed him by the fucking lapels. And like, "Dave, we have to Groundhog Day with everything we did yesterday. We have to do it exactly again today." Like, "No, I was only drinking Bass. I didn't have a Guinness. I'm only drinking Bass. We have to go. We have the same. And we did the same steak dinners. We did the same like 45 beers at the bar. We went. The only thing, no elephant.
No
elephant. Get the elephant." But I was like, no. But we did it at 1:30. And I think while we were watching the elephants, like I went and poured us both a glass of whiskey. which that was just a little extra. Relived the whole thing as close as we humanly could. Because Dave was like, "Oh shit, they erased it." I was like, "I know." He goes, "That means you got to get shit faced." I know.
It sucks, man.
It's the job.
Twist my arm.
Twist the same thing. And then we did it. And then the next morning, Dave Willis called me back and goes, "That's exactly what I was looking for. You did it perfect."
And then 11 seasons later, he was drunk for every
That's
night.
right. That's right.
Every time Master
Steak every
I was thinking about like whenever that thing we recorded yesterday, which unfortunately no one can know about, but whenever that episode comes out, I can't wait to watch it because I'm going to think where we were when it was being recorded, and it will probably sound no different from anyone else in the show.
They're going to say they need it again. They loved it. They need it again. So now you're on a plane back to Bangor, Maine to film with us, to record with us.
I don't know what studio.
I don't know where that was. That studio was amazing.
Seasons studio? I don't know, 4 seasons or something?
Through the studio.
4 Seasons Hotel? No, it was the Seasons Bar and Grill.
We're going to screw the studio upstairs. We're just going to rent that space up at the Seasons if it sounds that good.
I was joking with the Bob's Burger guys afterwards because they sent up a picture, that picture you took.
Yep.
Because I was like, make sure you get all the detritus.
Yes.
I want the dirty karaoke
Yes.
on the floor.
Yes.
But I was like, it's not even a GRILLE grill.
Yes.
It's just a GRIL,
Okay,
non-fancy
Yes,
grill.
not grill. And that used to be back when I grew up. It was an all-you-can-eat buffet, like all-you-can-eat buffet in there. It was like one of those ones.
Place?
Yes, before it became Seasons.
That building.
That building used to be
Because he told me at one point that place was, you know,
casino.
People, the Hollywood when they only had slots.
So when they did that in Bangor, before they opened up the big one, the company came into town to kind of get a foothold, like get people interested in gambling. Do they really need to get people interested in gambling? I think people just gamble. And so they did that, and they did the racetrack too, right? The racetrack had slots, and that place had slots. So it was a place called Miller's. There was an all-you-can-eat buffet. Then it was the slots, and then it's this restaurant, and their competition next door of McDonald's. That like McDonald's has signs as like these are McDonald's parking lot spots. Like there's an argument between the two of them, and like.
So in all of your recording experience, where does the Above Seasons Grill studio rank?
Well, that's a very good question. What's the real question? Where does it rank on what?
Yes. I guess. What are the parameters here, Justin? What do you think? Where does it rank just in your experience of like wild places you've recorded?
Well, I'll tell you this. Nothing endeared me to Bangor more than that experience yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
It started with Nick. It ended with Justin. And it all revolved to and from the Marriott Courtyard Hotel. The experience of getting it all together with you all made it very special to me. Not to sound corny, but it was like, it just was kind of great. I was like, oh, everyone's helping. It's like just a whole big team effort. And then, as I mentioned, the only one benefiting from it is me. But
we certainly had a blast. So, but that was.
it was so crazy. But I have, like when we were in Martha's Vineyard, I just recorded literally inside of a closet. I shoved the desk into a closet, so I was like sitting in the bedroom. But and I had like a quilt over the back of me. It is not like none of them are crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I guess. It is crazy that upstairs of a restaurant, Bangor, Maine, like that's kind of crazy. Stickiest carpet I've ever walked on.
I will agree.
That's part of the experience.
It's so sticky.
So you don't fall.
It's like, except you didn't walk through the kitchen.
No, I didn't.
No.
The kitchen is like an ice rink.
Yes.
I can see that. Because the kitchen everywhere, more of those places are ice. Yeah.
Like my shoes are, I think like they're naturally slippery. And when they hit that floor, I was like, okay, I gotta walk slow. John's walking like,
He knows the feel of it, though, right? He's been on it before. He has that.
Yeah.
He has that. Like it's
sailors.
it's home court advantage.
Without falling over, like
home court advantage for the kitchen. Just know where to go.
Exactly.
He's also got some mass to sit down, like to push yourself down a little bit too, more than us smaller people
He
here.
left
But,
like grease footprints in the floor.
but I mean, the whole experience, though, if you just take the whole thing into account, where you're like here to do a Comic-Con, you're here to sign some autographs, talk to the fans, take some photos. So to we're over here doing this, and then the connection of not knowing when you're going to be able to do it, and then
and then like I mean, even right out of the gate, like in the elevator on the way to Nick was going to take me here, so I get this first text. I'm like, that's weird. Dave Willis texted me because the guy who was working on this show, who was the one who reached out to him, I guess, to get my info or something, used to write on Squidbillies.
Okay.
Wrote a couple episodes of Squidbillies. But like that was the start of the day. Like, what is this thing? Like, this would be awesome.
Yep.
And then like the more I hear about it, like, well, I have to do this.
Yes.
There's no, like, all right, forget everything else. This is now like number one, because if I can make this happen, this would be like the greatest thing I've ever done. But then like that was like just out of the gate.
Yeah.
And showing up here, and Nick is like, I know just who to talk to.
Yeah. I went to school with Nick. Nick, it's like
over here, like, and then I like send what your mics are, and like I just like the whole like that experience is great.
When we talked about it, like you said, there's no way you could say no. It was the same thing to us. It's like, I don't even care what we had planned. It was like, there's no way we're gonna say no to this. You can't say no to this. Like, I mean, we're the person. Oh, I know that, but we're the person that like. I mean, if my wife was going, our baby's 4 months old, but like if my wife was going into labor, I would have said no. But otherwise, it was like, what else in my life am I gonna be able to be like, this is something that we should be doing right now. We can do it. We can save the day. No one else can right now. Why would we say no? So I can go home and play video games? Like, what the hell?
I mean, John, like, because John was like sitting out here, and I was like, I don't know who this guy is. I don't know what he's talking about. He's talking about chafing dishes, and I gotta go somewhere. I was like, I don't know what he's talking about. He's like, no, I got office. I said, it's all about, because I knew like the trouble would not be the microphone.
Yes.
Like in a real horrible pinch,
yes,
you could almost do it on an iPhone.
Yes.
Like almost. Or I was like, I could have gone to Best Buy and found something I could have used there. But it was really about the room.
Yep. Yeah.
Which I also then kept thinking I probably could do it at the hotel room because it's got a bed in there and it's all pretty dead. And like there's towels and shit. Like you can make shit the way you want it. But it worked out.
It worked out well.
Showed us that room, because it had a metal vent like that kind of.
Yep.
But every time I go like, woo, it would go. You could hear it like ringing afterwards. I'm like, I can't do it.
Then they're just animating in the show. You in a room that has that to make sure it works.
Edition, And then the next thing I know, like John is like, let me get some. He goes, this is just on a hose. I'll just shove it up into the ceiling and shove a ceiling tile under it.
It's gonna stay there. You know for a fact that's gonna stay there for a long time.
I thought about when we were leaving, taking that tile out to put the vent back down, because I was like, because if I hear like in 2 weeks, like, seasons burned to the ground, they said some kind of air duct
faulty fan to blame.
Yeah, I'm like, oh god.
That's Will who runs the Comic-Con. Will and Jay. That's his office.
Oh yeah, no.
So we'll have to make sure he knows to take that thing out of there to make sure.
Out of there.
Now.
Tell him just take it, because like John didn't even put it all the way in.
No, he just shoved it in there. Yeah.
He's like, yeah, these things are a real bitch to get in there.
But so this is your first one to Maine. So how's the Comic-Con been going so far? We'll wrap this up here a little bit. But like, where you?
I mean, the thing I'm gonna tell you, I've never been to a convention like this in my whole life, and I don't go to tons of conventions.
Sure.
But I've probably been to, I bet, 50.
Yeah.
Look at that little guy. The little mall walker just went and checked that guy right there. He just went and checked the coin return in the drink machine, see if there's anything.
Well, we were playing a game earlier before we finished this. We wanted to play a game. We wanted to just sit here and record and watch people walk by and go, mall attendee or Comic-Con attendee, and see if you could guess which was which. Are these persons just going to Journeys to buy shoes?
Yeah.
Or are they?
Which is your only option.
or you can buy shoes down here too. There's 2 places to buy shoes and glasses. So you get your shoes and your glasses and you're good to go. But we wanted to play that game, and I'm like, we have to guess most of the time that it's Comic-Con attendee, because let's be honest, we were here before, it was a Comic-Con, and there was 5 people in the entire mall. So I would say in general,
like come by 6 times.
yes.
And they look real. They're also the ones who look real bothered.
Yes.
How the fuck did these people get in my room?
Yeah. Anyways, you were saying.
But yes, back to the mall and the experience.
Oh, I think so. Anyone who doesn't know this is inside of a mall, and I find it so awesome. Like I think we were talking yesterday about like I would just take. Well, yeah, we were talking because you do all the signage or you do graphics. Yeah. Like I would just take each one of these empty stores, and be like, "Here's the Mick Foley store,"
and it's just all Mick Foley stuff in it,
or it's just Mick Foley,
just in the middle of the room.
Here's the Dana
Nothing
Snyder
else in the
store. Hey, how you doing? Come on in. Like it's just kind of awesome. Like,
well, would you want you want that one right there? That's the underwear store. You want the old underwear store?
Yeah, of course.
That's yours. Yeah.
Of course I do.
Spirit Halloween down there, the temporary Halloween store. That's in the old Victoria's Secret.
Of course it is.
So some of the same clothing's probably there, right?
Some spooky crotches.
Well, I'm saying some of the slutty costumes are probably the same ones they just left over from Victoria's Secret.
Sexy clown.
But we're in an old GameStop. This is old GameStop. We used to buy video games in here.
Yeah.
There's probably, since this is closed, more people have made money off of GameStop stock than they are this place is made.
Sure. That's for sure.
Yeah, the experience is different. It was Rue 21. It was a women's clothing store.
Here's my question.
Yes.
How is it that you have such a profound knowledge of all the stores that were in this mall?
I am, so as you can see on mine here too, it says staff on it too. So I am pseudo working with ownership here of the Comic-Con.
You know this is a GameStop, and you know the underwear store, but Rue 21?
Exactly. I was told because of our studio space, and it was in that space. But this is before this became. We drove down through downtown Bangor. I showed you where it was originally at.
Yeah.
When
from the Hollywood Park,
in that dip in the pandemic in the summer when we decided to move it to here, is we had at Buffalo Wild Wings on the other side of the mall, Will and Jay, the owners of Comic-Con, and I had beers together and wings and talked about the possibility of this being the Comic-Con after having a few drinks again and coming over here and talking and showing. That's when I got new. So this is Route 21. That was US Cellular, which is very ironic.
Which is, what's it called?
US Cellular, which is a cell phone company. Which is very ironic because the table in front of that thing is the US Cellular table. So not only were they
oh wait, and I saw a US Cellular over by that oldest shoe store.
Yes,
right.
And actually, back when I was in high school, that was a record store next door. We used to buy your concert tickets to local concerts. Used to go in there, but yeah. So we laughed because it's funny that they're no longer allowed to be in the US Cellular anymore. That they have to have a booth out front.
Look at what they used to have.
It's just where they feel comfortable, so they hang out front.
You can't buy this. Enjoy your folding table, bitch.
Airy underwear store, and then the one next to it was Deb's, which is another store. But I only know that because they mention it when on the doors on the outside when you come in, they say them on them still. But I mean, you see this now. I mean, honestly, you see more activity now than this mall has seen in 10 years. And
we were talking the other day. I mean, this morning, half the malls by me, half of them are dead.
Yep.
But then the other half, miraculously, are like. Not just thriving, but they're like beside themselves with people. But I notice almost everyone in LA that I go to that is a mall, the ones that are like super successful, there are many other stores, but always have an Apple store.
Yes.
I think that's the mark of like the successful mall has an Apple store.
Well,
so people can buy their new iPhones,
and not the unofficial, the authorized. Exactly.
No,
none of that. None of that.
Apple Store, the Genius Bar, and all that.
Exactly.
And when we lost, and Sears closed, the Anchor Store, like what they used to call the Anchor Stores, which you should draw people into, is they were missing one. And one of them was a furniture store now. Which again, do you go to a furniture store unless you need to buy a couch? Yeah. And so there is that.
You need to buy a couch. How often do you need to buy a couch?
And do you go to the mall?
I bought my last couch. I bought on Wayfair, which is an online site. I don't even go. So
I found this awesome furniture store.
You're good.
I know. What did you say?
No,
It's called. I want to look it up to make sure I got.
This little one.
It's called Burrow. But here's what's awesome about it. They sell all this furniture and stuff. But it's like stuff like section. I mean, they sell all kinds of stuff. Like all this stuff like this.
Oh, yeah.
Is made to come apart
to
be easy to move.
I bought a love seat on Amazon once that came in a box. that I took it out and you put bolts together and it put it together and it Velcro and it shoved in. I guarantee you that if you had to send it back, there's no way I would have gotten it back in the box. But but it's just cool to see. This is cool to see. I think
we've said a couple times too. It's fun to be back in the mall, and this feels like the right kind of thing, at least for like my memories growing up. Like it just feels right.
Well, they had the Clerks guys come here, and they were all in mall rats too, which kind of makes sense. And then we talked about the last thing when we got down here. Jim Lawson and Steve Levine, some of the original artists on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, are down that way with one of the newer artists for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Ben Bishop, and I'm like. 1984 when that came out, it's pretty much the malls were thriving as well. So it's like it is kind of a throwback to kind of these things.
What was the last good year for malls?
It depends on where you are. Like you mentioned, Portland, which is 2 hours south of here, the mall does pretty well, but we have 1.3 million people in the state of Maine. And most of those people are around the Portland area, which is where that mall is. For us to have here, I mean, I would say we have a couple 100,000 people within the greater area. To survive in a mall with only that number of people, and pandemic didn't help because a lot of our customers come from Canada too, and you couldn't come in.
I grew up in Virginia Beach, and we got a mega mall in the late 90s, and it was ripping in like the mid 2000s. But now I don't know. I've been there.
Back when you were playing Master Shake, that's when the mall.
That's true.
So when Aqua Teen Hunger Force ended,
the food court was still a thing.
Well, listen, I think 2 times. Well, I can think of 3 instances that we were. Aqua Teen was directly involved with something that ended up closing. Palisades Toys came out with an Adult Swim line of toys. They went bankrupt before the second wave came out. Thankfully, the first wave was a Master Shake, one of them. Then there was another toy company that did a line of toys that then they went bankrupt while they were doing it. And then I think Midway Games started making the Aqua Teen video game, and they went bankrupt. And then some other company like absorbed Midway. I think it was Midway. So then they just decided to finish the game, but it like somebody was asking about it today. It's literally the most unplayable video game. However, the cutscenes in between are amazing.
Are you voiced on it?
Yeah.
Okay, good. That's the thing. We talked about that. Someone else mentioned that too. Is like video games that don't have that are based on like how easy it could be to make it so that Dana Snyder plays your character on the game. Why wouldn't you do that? Like, why wouldn't they be able to do that?
I mean, I distinctly remember recording the stuff for those video games, and I have never laughed harder at anything that we were doing ever for Aqua Teen. And I laughed. There's many things I found funny there, but I still remember I couldn't get through some of the stuff. Because it was so ridiculous, and it was, I can't remember the story exactly, but it was like they're trying to get into the movie business. I mean, it was a golf game, but it was I think it was called for Zombie Ninja Pro-Am.
Which is perfect.
And I just remember the very first step was pick up the golf club. Now hit Carl in the head with it. That was the first, how, there was always the
tutorial,
That was it. But the cut scenes in between, which kind of had nothing to do with the rest of the game, but they were takeoffs on different movies. I don't know if this was it, but it was one of those there was Shake with Meatwad in front of him doing the thing on Titanic where they're in the front of the ship.
Of course,
they were all stuff like that, but they all had really stupid lines, and they're really making fun of all these stupid movies and things. But I just remember. You can watch all those on YouTube.
Yeah.
They're all on YouTube. The whole thing is on YouTube.
Well, I laughed, bro. So to piggyback that before we close up here is that when I was waiting over there saying hi to you earlier and one of your fans came up to say something to you and I've been trying to find toys for Aqua Teen Hunger Force forever and I can't find them. Your answer was, there's one place you can buy them. 2005. Time machine, and you go back there and buy them.
No, right now. Now I know they're not here.
Yeah.
For the first time in the history of everything, Hardee's / Carl Jr. is doing, this was in Business Week. They are doing a meal with the toy for adults.
Heck yeah.
And it's an Adult Swim meal.
Jeez.
There's an Adult Swim, a cup.
Yeah.
And then they have their blind box, but I think there's 6 different figures. but they're all the same shape.
Sure.
It's just different pretty.
Yeah.
You can't tell
Which,
you know, which is which. But there's a Robot Chicken, Nathan Explosion, the woman whose name I can't remember from C-Lab 2021, Frylock, Meatwad, no Master Shake, and then the sixth I think is Carl Jr. So like it's just a yellow face.
Well, why would they make a toy of you? You were part of the first line that made a company go bankrupt. So that you know, they wouldn't do Master Shake because that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, you know, they didn't want to go. That's a good point. When you put it that way, you make it a lot better.
But we had a blast last night doing that with you and enjoying that, and we'll remember it forever. Obviously, you'll probably remember it forever.
I will remember it forever.
Yeah,
I will never forget it. I will never forget you. I will never forget Season Sports Bar. So
And you got a souvenir menu.
I got a souvenir. I collect menus.
Yep.
I love collecting menus, and the fact that I got one from there. You know what I should have done? Well, maybe I'll bring it tomorrow.
Yeah.
I should have all of you sign it.
Yes.
That's what I need to do. Have you guys sign it. Have John sign it. I'll have Will and Jay sign
Absolutely.
it. Because
you should have rubbed it on a little bit of the grease on the floor.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh God, I'm sure that's all over that. I'll take the paper. I think sign the paper. And I'll put it back in the glass.
Which is what I did with the movie. I got a Never-Ending Story VHS tape, and Noah Hathaway signed it for me. Yeah, I bought it for $5 of a vendor over here. I'm like, this guy should have marked this way up.
Yeah.
Well, that's like, don't tell that guy.
Yeah.
He's got everything. It's like,
Yes.
and he's selling pictures.
Yes. Yeah.
Like the people have their own pictures. But I get it. He's probably got pictures that the people don't have. Like,
Yeah.
Oh,
And sometimes, people sometimes don't have it.
Brian
Yes.
O'Halloran, sexy pic.
Oh yeah,
That's
right
Brian's
now.
wallpaper, by the way, on his desktop, just to bring it back. To
Double
your
check
Best Buy
those
days.
things before you
Yeah.
put them up.
That's right.
But yeah, that was fun. This is awesome.
Yeah.
I'm happy. Thank you for coming
Yeah,
on
thanks so
and
much
talking
for
to
taking
us.
some
and-
time out of your day.
Of course. Don't be ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely.
You took off like your whole day yesterday
Yes.
to help me.
My wife was like happy. She's like, it was fun, extremely fun, but I owe her a date night. So
Yeah, you have to do a double date night, not
Date
double
night.
date. You just
I had to do a
have
date
pay
night.
twice as
Yeah,
much.
pays as much.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it'd be fun.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Yes.
Get it out of the house.
Exactly.
Drop the baby off. He slept well last night, so maybe that was why.
That's it.
See?
See, there you go, right there. I get to hang out with Dana Snyder every night.
What I know what you're saying, and the word I would say is, you're welcome.